I demolished like 2/3 of my wine glass just chatting with you here for the last 15 minutes.
Nice.
So if I'm going to do this episode proper, I should probably refill. I'll be right back.
Wow, it's already been 15. Okay.
All right, I'll be right there.
Okay. Back. Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action sci-fi classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I am Jeff Glover.
And today we're talking minute 60 of Predator. Happy Diamond Anniversary, Jeff.
60th anniversary?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it. 60.
It is a big moment. We're 1 hour exactly in.
Yeah,
Wow.
This is the big mark, the big either halfway there if you're like a big budget Hollywood movie, or if you know what you're doing with your movie, then you're 2/3 of the way there, or a little bit less than 2/3 of the way there.
Hey, Hollywood, let's keep everything to a nice firm like 85 minutes.
Yep.
That's movie geeks really prefer.
Yep. If you want a 2-hour cut, just put it in your director's cut, on VHS and Betamax.
Yeah, I want, save that for the double VHS release.
Right. the triple laser disc where you have to flip the whole thing over.
Right. That's fine. But for the rest of us, just give us a nice trim 87 minutes.
But this diamond minute of Predator opens with Billy saying, "Blain's body, it's gone," and it ends with Dutch looking up into the trees.
We get more Billy here. We are way off on Billy's last line.
Yeah, Billy just won't shut up now that he thought why I said his last line was a few minutes ago. He's like, F that. Here's a whole bunch of lines for you.
He was like, I'm just talking every minute for the rest of this movie.
I don't remember that line being in there where he looks at the camera and flips me off and says, "This one's for you, John." Like, that's a new one.
This one's for you, John.
You're all gonna die. Oh no.
Oh, what did I do?
Yeah. So what's happening here in our first 12 seconds, Jeff?
Sure, yeah. So this minute is broken up into two halves, somewhat lopsided. We've got the first 12 minutes here, and of course it carries over from last minute. and Billy and Dutch are pointing their flashlights at the ground. We see the empty poncho that held Blain's body. And as they look down, we just see like bloody leaves in the bloody ground.
Yeah.
And Blain's body is gone.
Blain's body is gone.
And so we get a little dialogue there. Billy's like, Blain's body, it's gone. And Panchito and Dylan kind of catch up to them. And then Panchito gives us a little dialogue. Yeah, and so that kind of brings that first 12 seconds to a close. What do we see here? Like what? It's a very quick 10 seconds, but we learn quite a bit really fast.
Yeah, it's. I feel like the story's taking a little bit of another genre shift here, as I don't feel like at this moment the team is in any danger. And so if this were to look like another genre, I'd have to call it like a murder mystery genre where they don't know how the Predator took the body out when all that commotion was going on. So it's kind of like a whodunit, kind of like a howdunit, almost like a police procedural take right here.
That's what I kind of took away. Like the camera shoots down at the ground and we see the bloody leaves, and then it comes back up and we get this like profile shot of Dutch and Panchito, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get that great little rack focus between Dylan and Pancho looks at Dylan kind of at the camera. Dylan!
Dylan!
Oh, Dylan looks at the camera and Dutch is kind of looking past Pancho at Dylan.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry, I meant Pancho looks at the camera and then Dylan does look at the camera. Well, but we get that dialogue where Pancho says, "Came in through the tripwires, took it right out from under our noses."
Mm-hmm.
And we learned that the body has disappeared, that while they were busy messing around with Mac and the pig, the Blain's body... Mac! Blain's body is gone.
Blain's body is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this whole like little it's a very quick shot, but you're right. It has very much the sensibilities of a police procedural. Like if you pause it, all three of these characters are kind of in profile.
Mm-hmm.
And as each one speaks, they kind of turn to the camera and the camera rack focuses on each of their faces as they deliver their lines. Rack. Yeah, so you're right. We get a little, I don't know, things are amping up here, right? Like we're, as I watched this minute over and over again, I just started to realize like, oh, wow, like this is really the part of the film that everyone starts to, you can start to sense panic, right? Like weird things happen like quickly, like minute after minute after minute, something crazy happens. We had the pig last minute, and this minute, Blaine's body disappears and going to get more stuff in the next couple minutes. And so like things start happening very quickly here.
I was thinking, like you do about this movie a lot, all the time, the other day. And I was thinking how that pig is kind of like a jump scare or like a cat scare in a movie where the cat is never the real threat, but it's still like scaring you at first. And then what usually happens with one of those cat scares is like then all of a sudden the bad guy drops in and like does the real killing or the real attack or the real scare.
There's the real scare. You're right.
The real scare. In this case, it was totally subverted. You had the cat scare and the pig jumping on Mac, and Mac dispatches it pretty easily with about Mac with a bunch of that psycho stabbing. And just to recap, what I mean by psycho is I'm not saying Mac is necessarily psychotic yet. He's trimming the verge there, but it's an illusion. It's just so I'm not mocking people with mental disability or anything like that. Just to
Psycho-esque, as in the movie Psycho.
Right, as in the movie Psycho, which if you listen in a minute, you'd understand. So, and this is subverting that by having the bad guy right after the cat scare just kind of sneak in and sneak out. It's quite a turn that you as an audience are unlikely to expect. You're not going to really have a killer in a slasher movie just like grab a dead body when it's being protected. Like, what would be the point? Usually it drops in and the bad guy's trying to wreak more havoc. And in this case, it's wreaking more havoc, but more psychological havoc.
Yeah, and I think in a lesser movie, they would have shown the killer or the predator in this case coming in and taking that body away.
Mm-hmm.
But here, as in much of this film, like less is more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they get distracted by the killing of the pig and they come back and they find that it's gone. And I feel like that omission, us not seeing what exactly happened, just really adds to the dread, to the suspense, to the horror of the situation they find themselves in.
Yeah, it's definitely keeping in the vein of not showing the predator, like you're mentioning. They're not showing us. They're not giving us any cheap looks. They're just revealing it piece by piece, action by action. Really, we know much more about the predator's actions than anything about his appearance at this point. And so, him taking this, you have to be thinking, what in the world? Why would he do that? Which is what Panchito is going to dive into in the next section here of this minute. But did you have anything else for this minute or the night scene in general? I think just to give you like a talking point is I always remember this night scene as being like a good chunk of the middle of the movie here. In total, when I counted up the scene at night, it's only 2.5 minutes of the night scene, and then it's daytime again.
Yeah, you're right. It feels, it probably in your memory feels bigger because it's substantial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot happens. You have the monologue with Mac staring up at the moon, where you kind of learn he's starting to kind of lose his shit.
I'm gonna cut your name into.
And then you have the attack of the pig, and then we come back to the team, and then we've lost Blaine's body. So in the course of those 2.5 minutes, it moves the story along pretty quickly. So I would understand. It makes sense that it sticks out in your mind as being a bigger part of the film. But yeah, it just moves right along because by second 13, 14 of this minute, we are in the morning time and the fog is clearing from the jungle and we're back with the camp.
Yeah. And how well do you think everybody slept after Blaine's body went missing? Do you think everybody just slept like Billy, basically with eyes open and hands on guns?
I would be willing to guess that nobody actually slept.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's one of those like, maybe you nap for 20 minutes at a time, but then snap awake out of fear. Ugh. Terrible.
Yeah, and we know that the Predator took a attack during Mac's first watch because Mac was assigned first watch, so they had the rest of the night up till dusk to stir at night, and just who knows what the strategy was at that point, because like you're saying, in the morning they're still in the camp, and at this point when we move on to the morning, we see a daytime wide shot of the jungle from afar, and we hear all sorts of great jungle noises from the animals, just like yelling howler monkeys and stuff like that. It's crazy. I didn't look up what animal would be making those noises, but it is like super loud and super scary, I would say, if you're in the jungle hearing that all around you.
And we can't skip over that in this transition from night to the morning, we get drums.
Drums, please.
Drums, please.
Drums, please.
It's only like 3 or 4 seconds, but it kind of transitions us from the nighttime to the morning. So I had to just make sure we get that in there.
yeah, it's nice little transition to reminds you that the hunter has his own little musical accompaniment, and we're going to hear more of that here in this next section too.
Yeah, we get a very nice wide shot. The fog is kind of moving across the jungle. We get a bunch of animal sounds. Sets the mood. They're up. It's the morning, and then we quickly cut down to Billy, who's making his way down from a little. It's another one of these scenes where someone moves into the frame from just some random spot,
like hitting a mark and like, okay, leave your mark now, and he does that.
Right,
Billy's really good at this in this movie.
And so Billy kind of moves into his mark and has a seat, and then we get a bit of dialogue here from the team. Were you thinking? Is it perhaps a dramatic dialogue read here? Is that what we have to do?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Right.
How do you want to split it up? Because you have to be Dutch. That's always a given.
To be Dutch. Okay, so maybe I should be Billy and Dutch so that I'm not talking back to back.
You are talking back to back at the end.
I would. Oh, you're right. I would at the very end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's not spoil it. Let's just. Yeah.
You could be Panchito.
I'll be Panchito. Yeah.
That boar had to set off the trip flare, Major, because there ain't no other tracks.
How could anyone get through this? Carry out Blain without us knowing it? And why didn't he try and kill one of us?
Came in to get the body.
Just bodies.
He's killing us one at a time. Like a hunter. Scene.
I
feel like my Dutch bled over into Billy there. Sorry, everybody.
It's hard. They're both just like
hard to switch.
Deep voice, kind of.
I know.
Yeah, a little bit accented voices. One's like Southern, one's Austrian.
I think my came in to get the body. I think that was pretty good.
Oh, that was good. He's got that good body line. That
body.
Just bodies. Oh, and I meant to say, like a couple or last minute when they're all looking down at Mac having killed the pig.
Mac.
I just had to throw Mac in there again. But Dutch, right then, when he sees the pig too, he says, "What the?" He says that exact line, the "What the?" Way back when he comes across a bloody Anna after Hawkins was killed in front of her. He has the exact same reading, the "What the?" I thought that was a little interesting. Just, I wonder if he's going to keep that up every time he comes across some bloodied animal or person.
That's his line. That's his reaction. Yeah.
What the? He's looking at his hand, has some blood. He's like, what the? All right. So, what are you making of this exchange here?
These guys are trying to work out what just happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think. Well, I'll get to this in a minute, because we didn't talk about after the dialogue ends. Dutch looks up into the jungle, and we get that you called it a Spielbergian shot of his face, right? I feel like this whole little sequence, the dialogue, the conversation we get, followed by Dutch looking up into the jungle, kind of brings us. It demonstrates to us that Dutch has come all the way around to. Excuse me. Dutch has come all the way around to believing that there's something otherworldly happening here. Like, I think that's what that shot is supposed to signify. You know, when we get that shot of his eyes as he looks up at the jungle and the camera kind of like pulls away and does that funny like Spielberg zoom thing. Like, that to me signifies that he's he's finally accepted what's really happening. And so I think this conversation is just a way to lead up to that. But that was as I watched this over and over again, this section, that was my takeaway. I just felt like his character, this was the turning point. This is when he decided that, I'm going to believe, I'm just going to accept that something supernatural is happening. I don't know if you took it that way, but that's how I read the scene. Yeah.
I guess I could see what you're saying, and I would extend it to say that he's accepted it, and now he's just trying to think of a way to find the bad guy, to beat the bad guy at his game. He's trying to figure him out, because next minute he's going to reference a theory he has about the bad guy using the trees as his transportation, his way around their traps.
Yeah.
So he's accepting, and now he's not trying to rationalize it. He's just trying to find a way to beat this adversary. So I like your take there. Yeah,
because he looks straight up into the trees, and so that makes sense. He's connecting the dots and realizing, oh wait, this thing, whatever it is, this thing is up above us all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's figuring out. He came in to get the body. He's repeating it. Or what did he say a couple minutes ago? Here he's saying he's killing us one at a time. Before he says it killed Hopper, and now it wants us. So he's just further deducing. He's making a huge leap here. He's saying not just that we're being killed. He's saying we're being killed one at a time. And then Billy says like a hunter.
Like a hunter.
It kind of makes sense to me to say that, but at the same time, there are probably hunters out there who will kill multiple animals when they come across them and they have the opportunity and the means.
I think when he says like a hunter, I interpret that as kind of being like it's strategic. Like a hunter. By saying it's like a hunter, it means there's purpose behind his actions.
Oh, okay, right.
It's not like just a predator. I mean, I use the word predator, but I mean like a wild animal in the woods that just kills indiscriminately based on them being hungry and like this is the first thing they see. Like a hunter would be careful and discerning and very selective about when they fire their weapon and when and who they kill.
Like a hunter.
So that was my take on that line. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. It's like a hunter as opposed to maybe an enemy who is just
right.
Philosophically opposed to us and wants to kill us in our ways. It's someone who's picking us off like a hunter would. And like you're saying, not based on survival needs or not based on needing to eat the soldiers. That'd be a nice gross cutaway. Thanks for not doing that, Tiernan. But yeah, it's a good point to make that distinction here. So yeah, good point. Yeah. Good job talking about it. And so Billy's making the observations. He's the good tracker of the group. He's fulfilling his role. And as I'm like writing the dialogue out week after week, and now I'm starting to further compile just the list of all the lines through the movie spoken by the team. Like Panchito has just, I've noticed, had a pattern just asking question after question after question.
Jay?
Most of his lines in the last few minutes have simply been questions.
Jay?
Yeah.
He has the occasional like quip, like you think you could have found something bigger when he was talking to Mac, but then at the same time that's a question.
Yeah, more and more you get the feeling that Pancho's character is sort of like a proxy for the audience, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's making the statements, asking the questions that we're all asking as audience members, like how did we hit nothing? How did they carry Blain out without us knowing it? Why did they skin the bodies? These are
early on. That's the one I zoomed to when I was looking at the dialogue list right now. And he says the gorillas skin them. Why would they skin them? He's talking to himself. He's not talking to anybody, and because I don't think he's expecting an answer. But most of his dialogue, I'm looking at it now. I would say definitely more than half of his dialogue is questions in the last few lines, and he's talking to Anna. He's asking lots and lots of questions, so that's good to give us a proxy, like you're saying, to try to figure out what's going on. Nobody's going to have answers. That's the beauty of this kind of proxy and this kind of genre movie, is that we're just just going to become more and more lost as the team is.
But it's a smart move, like as a script writer, to put a character in there that is asking the same questions you might, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an audience member, because it gives you justification for how you're feeling. It also lets you know that the story knows that you have these questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
That this is part of the process. If I'm explaining that, okay, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And I like how in this minute he's answered. His question is answered. Why didn't he try and kill one of us? Dutch gives us the factual answer. He came in to get the body. He's killing us one at a time. That's the answer, but that's not gonna make anybody feel any better.
Right.
Oh crap! Like I'm just gonna be killed and taken away, and you're never gonna see me again. That's like doom beyond doom. That's despair.
Came in to get the body. Oh, thanks a lot, Arnold. Awesome.
Right. It's like it's not like, oh, maybe he rolled down the hill or something like that. It's just yeah, he slipped on his own little blood or whatever. But what else do you have for this minute? I have a few other notes, but I want to make sure you're able to see.
I think I'm good there. I saw you had a few notes about music and things with the script, so maybe we should move to that.
Yeah, so the music cues I wrote down quite a bit, but the mix of the strings and the low horns are going on as the team is inspecting the camps, the tripwires. My guess is that some tripwires were tripped and others were not tripped, and as they're doing this and procedurally looking over everything, you hear this mix of strings and the low horns, this not high strings yet, that as the horns are going on, and the strings are nice, like suspenseful, but not too suspenseful. But then as soon as Dutch hears Billy's Hunter line, the strings really amp up to really high pitch. Yeah, and on top of that, or under that, I should say, we hear that same void sound. I don't know what else to call it. It's just kind of this wall of sound that we've heard a few times. Usually it's when Billy's involved in the scene, honestly, and the predator is either there or the predator has been there. Most notably when Billy and Dutch are staring straight ahead into the trees when Dutch is saying, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And Billy says, "I guess it's nothing, Major." But when the camera is zooming into the trees at that scene, you hear this just...
Yeah, and the camera kind of swings around Dutch. We get this real circular motion with it.
Yes.
Kind of ramps up, and Dutch is looking up into the sky. And that's why I was saying earlier, just kind of made me feel like this was a turning point in, I don't know if it was Billy saying like a hunter, but that seems like kind of a trivial line to have everything turn on. But the way the camera reacts and the way Dutch reacts to that makes you, as an audience member, you feel like, okay, this is kind of a turning point in Dutch's understanding of the situation.
Yeah, and if you've read the original script and you know really any of the history of this movie, you know that that's also the name of the movie.
Right.
So, it's required by law that if you say the name of the movie, like everybody should kind of stop what they're doing and you should rotate the camera bad boy style around the main character.
Do a little Spielbergian zoom and yeah.
Shit just got real. Shit just got real.
That is interesting though, that he says that just like a hunter, and the original name was Hunter, and they have such a dramatic shift right there. Like,
yeah. Can we talk about that for a minute? The whole name of what would you have preferred? Would you have preferred the name of the movie be called Hunter, or are you like someone who's a fan of the name Predator?
No, I mean, part of me might be biased because it's been my whole life. I know,
right?
But no, Hunter's, it seems generic and lame to me. Like it's just too generic. Like Predator has a more sinister and menacing sound to it, I think. Would you agree?
Right. Oh, I would totally agree. And it's one of the terms I made in my notes here that it sounds cooler, and they acknowledge it in the movie The Predator for what it's worth, which it's one of the few things in that movie I agree with. But I always associate that word now. All my life, I'm going to associate the word predator with this movie. I'm never going to think of something else first and then this movie. It's always going to be this movie first and then realize what the person is actually meaning with that. And they're talking, about scientific terms, predator and prey.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like, it's just, it's a better description for the movie. It sounds cooler, and Hunter's just too generic. It's just it's too vanilla. Yeah. I'm glad they made the switch.
Yeah, I'm glad they made the switch too. If you listeners are arguing about the whole naming convention, how it should be called Hunter and not Predator, because Predator indicates or implies that it's an organism that the person you're arguing against might be implying that the actual definition is an organism that lives by preying on other organisms. Sure, that's the first part of the definition, or that's the first definition, but the second, more commonly used, colloquially used definition, the accepted use, also is a person or a group that robs, victimizes, or exploits others for gain. And if that's the case, that's the case here. This is a predator who's taking soldiers for trophies. That's personal gain and exploiting other people or other groups.
A predator kills its prey to survive. I mean, what you're describing is more like a bass fisherman.
Yeah, in your face, internet nerd.
In your face. Take that with the dictionary.
Dictionary definition.
Yeah.
Webster's in your face.
Right. Like think of like the more maybe commonly used term the more common use of that today when someone's like, oh, that person's a predator, they mean like a sexual predator or something gross. That person doesn't need to do that to survive. That person is exploiting.
Right.
So you can't turn around and just use it for something else.
Yeah, we learned that this creature is taking human bodies and skinning them for whatever purpose he wants those skins for, but it's clearly not for food. He's just leaving them hanging in the trees without skins. So he's not eating them. He's just exploiting them for their riches, their skins.
Yeah, rich hides.
Yeah. An intergalactic game hunter. Yeah.
We could lead down a whole rabbit hole and say like, oh, here's other things that relate to movies that you first think of. The one I'll stick with, another term, just one. I'll just stick with one. You can maybe think of your own term that relates to like pop culture things first, always for you, before you think of like the actual definition. But when I think of the term like bounty hunter, for instance, I always think of Empire Strikes Back.
Bounty hunters. We don't need that scum. Yes, sir.
You have Boba Fett, you have Dengar, you have Forlom, you have Zuckuss. You have, did I say Boba Fett and
You
Dengar?
did.
Oh, and you have Bosk, and they're all like in the Star Destroyer, and they're called several times in the movie and in Return of the Jedi Bounty Hunter, and that's what I always think of before I think of like the actual definition, or Dog the Bounty Hunter or something like that. Do you have terms like go to that just you hear it and you immediately think of the pop culture reference before the actual definition?
There's a couple. Like if I hear the term lethal weapon,
Yeah.
Immediately I get Mel Gibson with a mullet,
Riggs. Hey, Predator 2 connection, way to go.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more. That was the first one.
Shane Black, right? Shane Black? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm sure there's others. Like what's funny, there's a lot of like common phrases that have been turned into like horror movie titles or whatever. Like I just talked last week about watching the movie Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever, yeah.
It's a common phrase, but if I hear that, I can't help but think about the horror movie, right? Like
right.
Happens to me all the time.
Or like Love Boat. Like, oh, that guy's yacht is such a love boat, but you can't help but think of the show first before you think of what could that possibly mean if it's not the show? Don't like wash your hands after leaving the Love Boat.
That boat must be full of germs.
Cooties.
STD boat.
STD boat. Oh, like flower delivery, because you hear STD, right? Isn't that the name of the flower delivery service? Or is that STD?
Oh man.
Is that a thing? Isn't there an STD flowers? No, I'm thinking FTD.
That's what you said to your ex-girlfriend. STD flower.
Again, wash your hands. A lot of hand washing on this episode, but all right.
Where were we?
I think this is our weekly challenging the Predator Minute listeners, Palapa participants to hop on the Facebook page there and contribute. What are your pop culture references that you can't help but think of the pop culture reference first before the actual definition? Or if you maybe don't even think of the actual definition at all, you're just kind of seeing lasers and swords in your mind's eye instead of actually listening.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, everyone out there, come comment because that will give me a chuckle. I'd love to hear what your phrases are for sure. Yeah.
Looks like Love Boat and Bounty Hunter and Cabin Fever are all taken.
They're taken. So you can't use those. Sorry, everybody.
Terms taken. Yeah.
Taken.
Speaking of the Palapa, the listener's Palapa, I wanted to give Joseph Parker a shout out. Listener Joseph Parker was commenting on the latest minute when we were discussing what the whole deal with the pig is. What was that pig's deal? And he hopped on the Facebook group and said absolutely it was a deliberate ploy by the Predator, who most likely gave the pig a sedative and then took it to the camp right outside the perimeter. Upon waking up, the pig was pointed toward Mac. And even revived that pig with a steroid, causing it to just go berserk and make all that noise and body tackle and become the real visible target versus the invisible target.
That was the theory, that it was drugged,
yes,
spot, and then revitalized with steroids and sent towards Mac.
Yeah, it's okay. I love that. I love our theories.
Joseph Parker. Wow. All right, yeah. Joseph. Fair enough. Good theory. I don't know if I agree, but all right.
No, keep them coming though.
Keep the theories coming. We appreciate
better.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One of my theories throughout this movie is that John McTiernan has kept this running theme, and he never talks about it in the commentary, but this theme of claustrophobia. As soon as it's morning time, that jungle is just laden down with this heavy fog, and you see them trying to make their way through the mist, and it's hard to see in the daytime portion of this minute as they're trying to figure out what's going on. And I like the claustrophobia. I like the idea that climatically that in the morning in the jungle it's probably going to be dewy and foggy. It's some good climate thinking by the team, by the production crew.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the whole sequence is really good. Just the design of the sets for the evening transitioning into the morning is really good, and like the fog just lingers on through this whole scene and is very believable. I don't know if they're using like smoke machines to get this effect, but it looks really good.
Sorry, I was listening to the Love Boat theme.
It's a lethal weapon.
It's a real Minority Report. Oh, like that movie with Tom Cruise. Oh. Just say that. Yeah. So this is the closest in the movie, by the way.
Jeopardy with.
You say Double Jeopardy?
Double Jeopardy with.
They do say that in the name in that movie. I remember watching that movie way back in the day.
Pay attention, because this is the best goddamn advice you're ever going to get. You ever hear something called Double Jeopardy, Fifth Amendment to the Constitution?
Wait, who? I was trying to remember who was in Double Jeopardy.
Ashley Judd.
Yeah, Ashley Judd. Who's the guy?
Bruce Greenwood. He's the president in the movies with Nicolas Cage, the National Treasure movies.
Oh, okay. It's not
Tommy Lee Jones, I think, is Double Jeopardy too.
More famous that clearly is not in it. Okay.
He's very famous. How dare you besmirch the good Bruce Greenwood? He was the guy I recommended a few weeks ago with the game. What's that game? Gerald's Game.
Oh, right.
He's the husband who haplessly ties the wife to the bed and then immediately dies.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, you did your part, President. Rest in peace.
Yeah, he set off the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So are we ready to get to recommends here? Have we finished the minute, John, is what I'm asking.
Oh my God. We're almost done with the minute.
Oh my God.
I'll save
the. I have more, do we?
Oh my God. I can't believe it. Yeah, I like to talk script stuff and director commentary stuff. I'll save the script. God, this turned into a real Minority Report here.
Oh, boy. I'm just so tired of all these Star Wars.
More like Majority Report. This is
double jeopardy.
You're going to need to put me in lockup over the top.
This is a real Gerald's Game situation.
Oh, man, we're just taking all the references out. Oh, too bad. All right. I'll save that script difference for next minute because it carries over. But Director John Commentary, director of the movie.
Oh my God, I'm about to have a Rosemary's Baby.
Oh my God, there's some monkey shines going on here, guys. Come on, stop it.
Okay.
All right, this is a good stuff. This is where he Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash.
Oh my gosh. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm all done. Go ahead.
All right, we're going to run out of time for recommends. I'm sorry. It's going to be a real Love Boat situation on your hands, if you know what I mean. I don't know what that means, but John McCommentary. Good Lord. All right. John McTee, the director of this film, is providing commentary throughout this movie. In this section, he's talking about the diarrhea everybody had because they would eat the street food and they'd also eat at restaurants not vetted by the production crew. He didn't eat the food himself. He said he lost 25 pounds by not eating. So he must have been, I don't know, just eating what he found in the jungle, drinking that vine juice. I'm not really sure. He said the line producer, I didn't catch the line producer's name, lost 40 pounds from eating the food. Arnold had severe diarrhea. That's why he looks super thin in a lot of the scenes. He lost lots of weight. And he had to play one scene with an IV in his arm because of all the diarrhea-induced dehydration. That's a lot. What we in the States called Montezuma's Revenge.
Wait, what'd you say?
It's a commonly named term of it's commonly called Montezuma's Revenge, named after the Aztec or Mayan king from way back when, who ruled and then I guess was maybe colonized over. I don't really know. I forget. He gave everybody massive diarrhea fits.
Famous king who took their gold and then shit his pants.
That's it. I'm sure there's some gold involved. Did you ever play that old video game like in the 80s called Montezuma's Revenge?
Oh.
I didn't realize that later on. Like it was also a term for severe diarrhea suffered from Mexican food.
Does your character just jump around and shit on people?
He wears brown pants in the game. It's a pretty smart move.
Yeah. It just blends in.
Yeah.
Let the boss just fired diarrhea cannon at him.
Like diarrhea. Am I right? Gross.
This episode's really gone off the rails.
Yeah, this is terrible. I feel like I lost 20 pounds of just diarrhea shooting out of my mouth.
Just pooped out 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that means that it was a success.
I think we're done talking about the minute, though. We win.
I think we're time for recommends.
Right. It's time to talk recommends. So cue the recommend music. Down, 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 down. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna recommend another oldie but goodie because it's still October when we're recording this, and
it'll come out in October too.
Perfect. So I'm gonna recommend a very famous oldie but goodie horror movie, but I'm gonna recommend it for a reason. So we live in the Seattle area, and there's I know, yeah. And there's a great theater in downtown Seattle called the Cinerama.
Oh.
And they are doing a series of horror films for about 5 days around Halloween. And the lineup is fantastic. The one that I wanted to see the most, I don't know, have you seen this, John? Have you seen their lineup?
I haven't, so you can just take me through.
Oh my God. So there's a bunch of great films, but you're going to know how upset I am that the 70 millimeter screening of John Carpenter's The Thing is sold out. And I didn't even know it was happening until I saw it and it was sold out. So I'm going to miss that, which is like my favorite movie of all time. But one of my other favorite movies of all time is also screening next week. And that is 1981's The Evil Dead, directed by Sam Raimi. And they're going to show a brand new 4K scan of the film with an updated score. And so I'm going to go see this next Tuesday, which is the 29th. So if you're listening to this and it's past the 29th, I'm sure I had a great time. But my recommend is The Evil Dead. If you have, for some reason, somehow never seen the original 1981 Evil Dead starring Bruce Campbell, directed by Sam Raimi, do yourself a favor this Halloween season. Stay up late, get a nice cocktail in your hand, and pop that shit in.
Yeah.
Because it is fantastic. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I am super, super stoked to see it on the big screen. I always told myself if I ever had the chance to see it on the big screen, I would drop everything and go do it. And I noticed it popped up. My wife had to take one for the team. She's leaving work early to come take care of the kids so that I can go to Seattle and go see this movie all by myself, because it's something I've always wanted to do. So hats off to my wife. She's fantastic. My wife deserves all the credit. But yeah, my recommend is to go watch The Evil Dead for this Halloween season.
Nice. Yeah, they have a great lineup. I'm looking at it right now. It's Ghostbusters, The Thing, Psycho, Night of the Living Dead, the original. There's probably only one Night of the Living Dead.
There's
The
a
Birds.
remake, but yes.
Okay. So the original, The Birds, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, the original, The Exorcist, Director's Cut, The Evil Dead, that's yours, Midsummer, which I'll never ever see, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Silence of the Lambs, and Poltergeist. Oh man, no, I would have loved to see that with you. That would have been hard to figure out on my end, though. Yeah, no, I understand. The same with The Thing. Like I saw that there were, it was mostly sold out. I saw that there were like 9 seats left, and I had to I could see Evil Dead with perfect seats, or I could see The Thing like crammed into the front row. You know what I mean? And so I chose Evil Dead with the good seats. Why is The Thing, out of all these that have hundreds of seats left over, why is The Thing the one with like single digit seats? Like literally a handful.
So good. And and they're showing it in 70 millimeter, and like I don't know. If you're a horror fan, it's like the Holy Grail. Like any like you find these lists online, right? Like top 50, top 100 horror movies of all time. The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing is always in the top 3. Always. And it's not just it's not just it's because it deserves to be there. Like it's not my favorite movie just because I think it should be, because all these lists say it is. It's like my favorite movie because it's genuinely fantastic. Like I love it so much. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it's the most popular one there in that list.
Sounds like a real Lethal Weapon of a film to me. Love it.
I'm gonna head on down to Seattle and drive Miss Daisy straight there.
Good stuff.
Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes, and I love that movie.
Have I recommended that one yet?
I don't think so. The horror comedy about the vampires.
Yeah, sounds like you're doing a good job for me. Sounds great.
Yeah,
so we both we watched it. Sarah and I watched it.
So good.
Last year. She's
oh my god, I love that movie.
So good. You sure you don't want to listen in and contribute?
I just think this is cool.
Sarah, come on in.
She doesn't want to hop in, but do you want to say what you liked about What We Do in the Shadows into the microphone?
I think I'm gonna watch that for Halloween.
Hey, let's watch it for Halloween. Yeah. Why do you like it so much?
I want to show Jack. I don't know. What's that guy? Everyone's okay. You know how to put it on.
You're right. It's just a conversation. It's all right. It helps the conversation. Lethal Weapon.
No, the guy from
Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
Jermaine.
He is so funny. Like
so
you can
funny.
tell you can tell whenever he's talking, like he's kind of just like laughing at himself and laughing at everybody else. Like you can just tell like he's not taking anything seriously, even when he's like acting as like a vampire who is a vampire. Yeah, vampire who's like sucking someone's blood. You can tell he just wants to crack up. And
You feel like as soon as the director says cut, that he starts laughing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's like almost smirking, like when he's saying something even kind of serious.
And there are so many just like throwaway lines in that movie that are fucking hilarious. Like,
it's so good.
You're not swearwolves, we're werewolves. Like, oh my god, that's the dumbest but most brilliant line in that whole film, right?
It is just so good. Just an awesome cast. I think it's all New Zealanders.
Yeah,
the whole plot kind of creative.
It was produced and filmed in New Zealand. It's a New Zealand film.
Yeah, Taika Waititi, who we watched his other film, The Hunt for the Wilder People, and that was dynamite. I think I recommended that one a few months ago, but I think What We Do in the Shadows is his first big thing, and I unless I have that backwards, then it's not. But yeah, high recommend, especially during the Halloween season. It's something funny to go along with the horror, because there are some genuinely scary scenes. I remember particularly with their one friend who more resembles like the older vampire Nosferatu.
Yes, yeah, Peter.
Peter. But they have some scary, like, as you're reminded every once in a while, this is a vampire movie too. Vampires are like terrifying creatures,
right?
Suck blood and
I'll recommend to you guys, if you want another New Zealand horror comedy, you should watch Deathgasm. It's
Deathgasm.
Silly name, but it's a comedy that's also a horror.
Cool.
And it's about a band. It's about a group of high school kids, kind of misfits, that form a band in high school.
Cool.
And they sing a song like backwards. And it causes like demons to rise and take over the city, and they have to fight back. And it's like super gory, but like almost like slapstick gory. Like it's a splatter flick. It's so over the top gory that it's funny. And the lead performances by the main guy, and then the girl, the main female lead, she's really, really good. And it's just fun and goofy, and it's a really good. Yeah, it's a really good, like, fun Halloween flick if you guys are looking for another similar type of movie.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Deathgasm.
That's
the name of their band. Deathgasm.
Do they fight the evil with the rock and roll? I hope they do.
They do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Power of rock.
Power of rock.
Did you guys do your recording already?
We're just about to start.
No.
It's a real lethal weapon of an episode.
You have a real love boat in your hands there.
What minute are you on?
Minute 60. This is our diamond anniversary.
1 hour.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 1 hour.
Yeah, congratulations.
I got John a cubic zirconium.
Damn it.
So you have how long is the movie in total?
107 minutes.
Oh.
So we're
There's a lot more to go.
Ooh, that's nice.
I have to listen to you guys.
60 episodes.
60 episodes.
That is incredible. Wow.
Talking about the same movie.
I think they say once you're 60 minutes in, you just keep going.
Is that what they say?
I didn't read the website closely. It probably said something like that.
What was it?
My weekly recommend is Flemish Giant Rabbits for Pets.
Oh, got it.
Shelley was a Flemish Giant rabbit.
Yeah. What was your weekly recommend?
It was going to be something stupid throwaway. I like our joint recommend, though, of What We Do in the Shadows better. I'll save my other one for later. It's always nice to have like a back catalog to pick from.
Oh, okay. Are we doing weekly recommends right now? Or did you
This is it. You didn't notice the music that's on in the background that I don't add later? That's on right now, diegetically.
Okay, I'm going to hand you back over to John here.
All right. Good talk to you, Sarah.
Bye, Jag. You too.
Bye.
Thanks for hopping on the weekly recommends.
Sarah,
Wife of the show, Sarah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. You should come back more often. Just talk about characters and emotions and what's going on in their psyche that they're not saying. Because this movie is full of your favorite thing, which is like long stares.
Yes. It's my favorite.
We got
We're left-
lots of long stairs.
We talked a lot about long stairs so far. Like, what is he thinking? Why he's making that face? Yes.
Oh, my long stairs are the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a really good long stair coming up?
Yeah. Once Arnold is alone with the Predator, it's nothing but like these long stairs. Because he can't talk to anybody.
Okay.
It'd be weird
Is
if
it
it was.
self-reflective long stairs, or is it like, I'm terrified long stairs?
Oh, and there's the best self-reflective
Yes!
long stair at the very, very end
Yes!
on the choppa.
Self-reflective long stairs are the best.
Yeah, and can't wait for you to. All right. Can't wait for you to hop back on. Bye.
All right.
So
Did we do
wrap
it?
Did we do it? We're about to begin recording. Minute 60 here. No. All right, that's the end of our recommend. So we can fly through this. Jeff, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter, Carl_Hungus314. Come follow me there.
My name is Carl, ich bin expert.
Yes, my dispatcher says something wrong with the cable.
Hello, meine Dispatcher says there's something wrong with deine Kabel.
You can find Predator Minute on Twitter at Predator Minute. You can find us on Facebook and come join the conversation. Come say some things to us. Give us your own Halloween recommends at the Predator Minute Listeners Palapa. You can also email the show in case you want to be more discreet about recommendations and starting conversations that are awesome about Predator. PredatorMinute@gmail.com. So for Predator Minute 60, I've been John Zabriskie.
And I am Jeff Glover.
And until next time,
stick around.
Stick around.
He's killing us one at a time.
Like a hunter.
Major, you better take a look at this. Blain's body is gone.
Came in through the tripwires. Took it right out from under our noses.